But okay, I think like we should switch gears and talk about what's happening on television. Okay, so we're a little behind, but we're going to be recapping episodes 4 and 5 of
Yes.
Summer House. So let's start with like the most pressing drama, Kyle and Paige. So we had the confrontation about Spritz, about Craig signing on to be a part of another drink company, an investor in a competitor of Loverboy. And Kyle is really angry with Paige about this,
Yes.
and then also angry with what Hannah had been saying about him on a podcast. And I think
Yes.
they kind of like settle on Kyle is going to talk to Craig about it, and Paige has like excused herself from the narrative, one in which she never asked to be a part of.
Yes. Yeah, so it was definitely very anticlimactic. Like they left us on this cliffhanger that they were going to have this big conversation about it, and like it was all very chill at the end, between Paige and Kyle, which I think is demonstrative of their friendship. Like Kyle really cares about Paige, and even though he was like very heated when it initially came up, when it actually came down to it the next day, he was like ready to just take a step back and apologize because he wants Paige like in his inner circle and doesn't want to cause any issues. But I do think it's interesting that Paige, yes, they decided Paige wasn't really going to be a part of it. Like Kyle should speak with Craig directly. But obviously we know hindsight's 2020, Paige and Craig break up, but had they not broken up yet, or we didn't know that they were going to break up, I would still think it was a red flag, just like how disengaged Paige is from her not her husband, her boyfriend's drama.
Yeah, exactly. Like just not trying
She
to defend him at all and also just being
doesn't
like,
care.
leave me out of it. I don't care. It is weird because, yeah, if you or I are in that situation and someone's slinging insults about our partners, like we're in defense, we're in attack
Of
mode. We're like,
course.
how dare you talk about like my man like
Yes.
that? Like standing up for him, for his character. And it is very telling that she was like on her way out. She's just like, I think this man sucks too. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. She's over him.
I just think, yeah, and it's shocking because I remember when the news initially came out, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be really awkward for Paige and Amanda. Like she loves Craig so much. It's like she has to choose between her partner and her best friend. And obviously she is going to defend Craig. And yeah, it was just like really shocking to see how much she was like kind of letting Craig
Fend for
fend for
himself.
himself and just like dig his own grave.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I really loved when Kyle said, I love Paige, like, I love our friendship, but most importantly, I love her friendship with Amanda. So I don't want to
Yes.
fight with her. I'm like,
Yes.
that's like the sign of like a good husband. And I mean,
Yes.
and yes, Kyle has his flaws, but in this instance, it's recognizing like I need to put my feelings aside because I care so much about my wife and her best friend and their
Yes.
relationship. And that's a lot for Kyle to do.
Yes. And we talk about this. We've talked about how we've always loved Kyle.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
just think he's a fun party boy with a good heart.
Exactly. I like always knew, they say that men become mature adults at age 42, and that's really true with Kyle. Um, I've been like really taken aback by the Paige and Craig scenes, like them at that
Oh my
Australian
God.
restaurant when Craig was like, I I never pictured myself in being in such a submissive relationship. And also like when you have kids, you're going to have to slow down. Like you can't keep working. It's like, excuse me.
Instead of saying, like, when we have kids, I will do anything I can to help you so that our kids are taken care of and you can continue to like fulfill the dreams that you have.
Exactly. Okay, so I have a theory about this. I think
Yes.
that when Paige and Craig started dating, they were very much on the same level. They were both reality stars on like mid-level popular television shows, like same tier within Bravo. Like not quite Real Housewives, but like a tier under Real Housewives in terms of like popularity and cultural significance. Um, and Paige even said herself, it's really nice to be dating someone who like has the same job as me because it's like he already understands like all the things that I have to deal with. So they had that like commonality. But then over the past few years, like Paige's career has taken off. She's skyrocketed with Giggly Squad, like this 60 city tour. Like she has like an off ramp to be a star outside of Bravo, whereas Craig
Yes.
does not. Like, I know a lot of people that just know Paige in terms of Giggly Squad. They're like, I don't watch Summer House, but like, I love Paige.
Right.
That is the difference. And I think that Craig feels jealous. I think he feels threatened. I think he feels really insecure. On the after show, Paige said there'd be times where like he would pretend to be happy for me, but I knew like deep down he wasn't.
And she couldn't tell him things that she wanted to because she knew that he wouldn't be able to handle good news that she had.
Right. And that once that happens, it's over. It's game
Totally.
over. If you can't like share happy times, like good things that are happening to you, like your hopes and dreams with someone, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, what is this relationship?
Totally.
And I think it's like, unfortunately, something we see happen a lot in Hollywood, like when people are in the same profession. I always cite Reese and Ryan. When Ryan Felipe and Reese Witherspoon got together when they first started dating, he was the bigger star. They got married, and then she's Elle Woods. Game over. She's the biggest star in the world, and
Mhm.
she plays, what's her name, June Carter, in Walk the Line. She wins an Oscar. Right after she won the Oscar, it was like filed for divorce. It was over. Like,
Wow.
and if you watch the videos of him like clapping for her and like cheering for her like during that award season, he's like miserable. Like he's trying so hard to
Wow.
be supportive of her. So it's just like a classic Reese and Ryan situation where when you're in the same career, in the same profession, like, and the woman starts doing better, like a lot of men cannot handle that. It takes
That
a
is
really,
such a good take.
thank you. It just takes a really strong man and a really
Yes.
secure man to be able to handle a woman being more successful than him.
Totally.
And, you know, like it just makes me sad because, but it's so relatable, especially for us because we're podcasters. Our husbands are so
So
unbelievably
supportive.
supportive. They're so proud of us. They're our biggest fans. And like to think that, like, if I was in a relationship or like my partner wasn't happy for me, that I was like pursuing my dream and like doing something that brought me happiness and success, like, good for Paige for walking away.
It's, I mean, I think her age probably plays into it. Like, I feel like had the success happened when she was 24 and she was with Craig, maybe she wouldn't have the confidence. I'm just speaking like generally. I don't know
Mhm.
Paige like personally, but like maybe she wouldn't have the confidence to say like this is what I want, this is my career, like I'm not letting you kind of come in the middle of it. I feel like when you're younger it's easier to get distracted by guys and
It
feel like your self-worth is
Your self-worth is centered around a man. And like,
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
we're so conditioned at a young age that it's like your success is finding a good partner and finding a partner that can like support you and having
Yes.
children. And it's ingrained in us in such a young age, like that we put like men and relationships on a pedestal and we don't put like career and aspirations on the same pedestal. Or
Totally.
if we do, we have to make sure that it's not threatening our male counterparts. And that we're
Right.
speaking from a heterosexual purview, of
Yes.
course. But it's like we have to position our goals and aspirations in such a way that we're not going to threaten our
Right.
boyfriend, our fiance, our husband. Um, so I think this was like a real test of their relationship, and Craig failed.
Totally. I'm really proud of Paige. I think she's a role model.
I think she is a role model. I think it takes a lot of courage to walk away from like the white picket fence and the man who
Totally.
wants to marry you and have babies with you. I think a lot of women in the same position would just kind of be like, all right, I guess
This is it.
I got to pack it up. Like it's time to get
Totally.
married. Um, so good for Paige. I hope that she inspires many other women to chase their dreams and don't fucking settle
Yes.
for a lame ass man.
Let's juxtapose Paige and Craig and that dynamic with Elsie and Brody.
Oh my gosh. Wait,
And
from
her,
the hills?
yes.
Oh my
And her
god.
being known as the girl who didn't go to Paris.
It wasn't Brody, it was Jason.
Oh my God, Jason.
That's why I'm like, what happened with Elsie and Brody? I was like, when Jen Bunny hooked up with him on Elsie's birthday.
This is why we're a great pair, because of course you remember every single detail.
Of course, especially when it comes to the hills. Like, okay, yes. So for those of you who don't know, but I feel like if you're a millennial, you know, because this is like a pivotal moment in our lives. It's the season finale of The Hills. Elsie has been living her dream, working at Teen Vogue, interning for, I think her name is Lisa Love. Lisa Love. I don't know, not important. But she's living every girl's dream, like fashion, Teen Vogue, like every teenager wants to be Elsie. And Lisa calls her in and she's like, we are inviting you to come to Paris with us for the summer to do Paris Teen Vogue things. And at the same time, her boyfriend, Jason, invites her to live at the beach with him for the summer and like do nothing, just like hang out at the beach. And she chooses to not go to Paris and spend her summer with her low life boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. And the famous quote is,
You'll always be known as the girl who didn't go to Paris.
ooh, I still get the chills.
Every time. It's like when you're faced with a choice of like love or career, you have to think, am I going to be the girl who didn't go to Paris, Jason?
It's also important. It's also important to note, though, that Jason was a fuckboy.
Very much.
He
Yeah.
didn't even like treat her well. Like, there's nothing wrong necessarily with choosing your partner over some work ambitions or work things that you have.
Yeah, of
The
course.
problem is that Craig sucked and wasn't supportive, and Jason sucked and wasn't supportive. And in one situation, Lauren chose her boyfriend, and Paige chose her career. And she chose herself.
She chose herself.
She chose herself.
Amen. And it's also really important to note their ages. I think Elsie was like
Yes.
19 or 20, and
Yes.
Paige is 32. She's our age.
Yes.
So
which is exactly what I said before.
It is. It's a great point to make. And I think Paige has said herself, had this happened to her at a younger age, like it would have been a different situation.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's important. Lauren's lucky. Elsie is lucky that it happened to her when she's 20,
Right.
because that's a lesson she needed to learn.
Yes. Let's hope she didn't do it again.
I doubt it. And she seems so happy. She's married to the drummer from the band Something Corporate, I want to say. One of those like teen emo bands, and they have like 2 sons, and they just like live a happy, quiet life.
That sounds amazing.
And she's still gorgeous.
Yeah.
She was the blueprint. She
really was.
Literally every time I was getting my hair done for like a prom, I like brought in a picture of Elsie as if we had any similarities in our hair. I had a Jewish Ashkenazi ringlet curls. She has straight, fine blonde hair. And I'm like, this is what I want to look like. And they're just like, okay. And then I'm like in the chair crying afterwards. Talk about setting yourself up for failure. Okay, sound off in the comments. I want to know what's like a picture of a celebrity that you brought to a hair salon and expected that you were going to look like that celebrity. I think we've all been there.
So when I was younger, it was definitely Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, but you kind of looked like her and had similar hair.
That was a little more realistic because she was like a white girl from Long Island.
Right.
Who else? In my older era, like my older years, it was Gigi Hadid.
Yeah. But and that's like you have really different hair from her. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, also I'm thinking of makeup.
No, it's hair. It's hard because like hair is such a specific thing to me.
Right. I mean, I will say I do remember like, okay, Megan Fox and Amanda Bynes. Like they always had the sleekest middle parts. And they also, right, exactly. Yeah. And they also have...
It all comes back to middle part.
It always comes back to middle part. Like, who has the best middle part? Like, it was like the only time my hair... And I have a middle part, but like, our hair is thick. Their hair was fine. So when their hair would be blown out, it was like the most perfect face framing. Like, the only time I remember my hair would look the way I wanted it to look is like when I immediately got out of the shower and would brush it.
Same. Literally when my hair was like sopping wet and it wasn't like puffy and like a fro and it was just like curls like nice and like tamed. I'm just like, why can't I look like this all the time?
But our it's just sopping wet.
Yeah. Right, because your hair needs to dry. Because you need to be dry.
Um,
Oh my
wow,
God. So
that's
funny. That was
great.
a great like little tangent.
It was.
Bringing it back to Summer House, I couldn't get over Danielle interrogating Lindsay on the beach about her and Turner not living together. It's like, bitch, Lindsay is gonna Lindsay. When are you gonna get that? And also, wow, you guys really aren't friends that you don't know that.
That was crazy. I mean, it's crazy and it's not. Lindsay is such a specific type of person. Like, it is so not surprising that she's had these people, i.e., Danielle, Carl, who was the guy from the first season that they were dating?
Oh my God, what
He
was
was
his
like in the
face?
army.
Oh my God, what was his name? I can see his face. He had like an
Same.
interesting name. I can't remember. Wait, I have to look it up.
Okay.
Everett.
Oh my God, Everett. And then Everett, like these are all people who she had been so close with, like attached at the hip, like friends first, then dated, or just like best friends. And now she's like, they're just like nothing to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's
I don't know
really
which,
it's really weird how she like can discard people so easily. What
yeah.
like personality trait is that?
By I feel like it's like multiple personality disorder.
Let's diagnose her really quick. What does
Okay.
it mean when you can easily discard someone? Narcissistic. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a
she's narcissistic.
narcissist. That's
Hmm.
just classic. Should have known.
Classic.
I feel like some of these words are so overused, like he's a narcissist, but like Lindsay
Totally.
actually is.
She is.
And I feel like she like calls Carl a narcissist all the time,
It
but he couldn't
it
be farther
really
from one.
let's talk about Carl.
As we do. We fucking love Carl.
We're it's a Carl Stan podcast.
It
Um
is.
I just like so first of all, I just want to say that did you see the after show where he was with Kyle?
No, but you told me some things, so fill us
It was
in.
just very uncomfortable to watch because it is just so clear how deeply insecure he is. Actually regretted sharing that he hadn't slept with someone since Lindsay because he didn't realize that it was going to be such a big deal and it felt really emasculating. Like, this man is so vulnerable and I love that. Like, I don't want to be like, man up, like, stop talking like this. I don't. Like, I love that he's really in touch with his emotions. But I do think that his continuing to like dwell in it is not like helping his game.
No, not at
Like,
all.
I really just want him to just start like acting the part, and I think the rest will come. Like, he doesn't feel, meaning like he doesn't feel confident, so he acts sort of like meek and insecure. But I feel like if he just pretends to be confident, the rest will come. You know what I mean? Like, he needs to just get out of this like cycle of like self-healing and like I'm like on a journey. Like, just get out there, Carl.
Right. I mean, I think it goes to show like right when he became sober, like immediately when he became sober, he started dating Lindsay and everyone told him like the first rule about sobriety is like you should be single for at least like 5 years or something.
So,
No,
yeah.
I don't know if it's 5 years. I don't know the exact number, but it's like a good amount of time. You need to be on your own so you can discover who you are. And
Yes.
I think he never did that. So now he's like starting over, net new, no relationship, sober. Like, who is Carl? Who do I want to be? Like,
Yep.
and that's a really vulnerable, scary place to be. So it makes sense that his game is off, that he's kind of like unsure of himself. And obviously that girl that he brought to the party was a little strange and that whole interaction was very awkward. I thought she was being
Yeah.
weirder than him though.
Yeah, she was weird.
She was just weird. I would love to see him date someone like not from the DMs, but maybe someone he meets like at a sober
Totally.
meeting and or someone affiliated with softball. Well, maybe not. He shouldn't mix business and pleasure. I really hope softbar is like gonna open. I'm like a little concerned.
Same. When was it supposed to open?
I think it's supposed to open this summer, but he's like been crowdfunding, and I think it's like uncertain, like if he actually has investors. I'm just like, Lindsay cannot be right, Carl. Figure it out. You have to
Figure this
get this,
out.
you actually have to get this thing open. But I think he's doing a great job, and it's like obviously really hard to start a business, and it's a very niche business, and it's hard to have like a brick and mortar store, and he's like having a bar. So fingers crossed. I really want him to succeed. I think he will. I believe in him. We believe
I
in you,
also
Carl.
believe in him. I know we're rooting for you.
I don't.
Um,
I his book.
yeah, let's talk about his book.
The book title is extremely confusing. It looks like four different titles, and I
It
think
has like 5.
it's like you don't know where to look. I'm like
Right.
hitting low, starting high, in the
So
middle,
I
cake
wrote all of
eater.
them.
Okay, yeah, please read them to us.
So Carl Radke, his name is at the top. Then it says getting high, hitting low. Then beneath that it says and trying to stay in the middle. And then beneath that it says cake eater. And then on the side in like scribbles it says a journey to self-discovery.
That's a lot.
It's too
I
much.
think if he got rid of the hitting high, starting high, hitting low, the middle,
Yeah.
that needs to go because I don't understand its relevance. I think it should have been Carl Radke, Cake Eater, A Journey of Self-Discovery.
Okay, so I actually totally disagree. I like the getting high, hitting low because getting high is like high off of drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and then hitting low is like he went low, like
Mm-hmm.
he was at his lowest point. So it's like Carl Radke, getting high, hitting low, a journey to self-discovery.
Okay. I see your point there. But that also just doesn't feel like a title to me. Like that stuff feels like there's something missing. Like I mean he explained what cake eater was. It's like a term for like a wealthy person that grew up like in his area and people thought that's what he was. I'm like, I don't know. Did we ever think that? I think we
I
just thought you were a
also
fuckboy party animal. I don't think we thought
I
you were
thought it
like
was like
rich.
funny because of like he got a cake thrown at him in Summer House,
He
remember?
did.
What? Don't you remember the oh my god.
Was it
It was like
Lindsay
the
Workus? Just threw a cake
yeah,
at him or something?
I was literally gonna say the Winklevoss twins.
They kind of are the female Winklevoss twins.
Yes, she threw a cake on him season 1. So there it has to be a nod to that.
It wasn't though. He said it's like about like a name for wealthy people in the area that he grew up in, and he's like oftentimes like I was confused for that. I was like, who confused you with that?
Who is the publisher of this book that
Yeah,
let all this happen? It's very weird.
it's weird, but I do think that he has a good story to tell. So hopefully it will come through despite all the weird, confusing titles.
The book is a good idea. I also think he should have his own podcast where he interviews people like in the wellness space or like recovering addicts. I feel like that actually could be like a really good um way for him to immerse himself in like the Hollywood scene
Yeah.
outside of Summer House because I'm sure he can get like people who are sober to, there's like everyone in Hollywood sober because they used to be addicts.
Right,
To
exactly.
talk about like their journeys.
I think that's a really great idea. I do think that
Thank
he would
you.
have to I don't really see him being a good interviewer slash conversationalist enough to host a podcast, but I think that he could work on the skills.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Okay.
way less talented people that have podcasts, so he could do it.
Definitely.
Um, there was something else. Oh, just talking about drugs, I think it's like kind of crazy how like it's finally being confirmed that Craig was kicked out of Kyle and Amanda's wedding. I feel like do you remember this?
Of course.
Yeah, I feel like for so long Paige was like dying on this like hill that Craig did not get kicked out of their wedding, and now they're finally like bucket like he did, and essentially like on the after show Amanda's like, yeah, he was told to leave. And
What happened?
I think so the wedding was at Amanda's parents' house, and there was like very strict rules, like it was during COVID also. So the very strict rules of like no one is allowed in the house. If you use the bathroom, we have like an outdoor bathroom set up. And I think that allegedly he was doing hard drugs, drinking, completely out of control, being embarrassing, went in the house, and that's when he was asked to leave.
Wow.
And the page even said like there were so many situations where like things that were about me, like my a best friend's wedding or like family events, like anything that like had to do with me, my people, my happiness, like he ruined it for
Right.
me. And that made me really sad.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Jesse and Lexi. I was pretty shocked that they haven't had sex.
I wasn't because I get a like a Wes Sierra thing vibe from her where she's like very childish. Where
Right.
she's like, I don't want to have sex unless we're exclusive. But he's like, but why would I be exclusive if we haven't had sex?
Right, exactly. It's creating the exact same dynamic. It's like
Yes.
what it's deja vu. I also like I don't know if this is a hot take. I think you agree with me. I think that you should sleep with someone like pretty early. Like I'm not saying that you should like sleep with someone the first time you meet them, maybe not even the second time, but like I think
Yeah.
after like a few times of hanging out, like just do it to see if you have good chemistry, if it's worth like either you do and it's great or you don't and you can like work on it or you just cut your ties. I feel like just like
Right.
prolonging the situation, it's putting the sex on a pedestal and like putting so much
Yes.
pressure on it that like it's bound to not be good.
100. And also, whatever you're trying to avoid as a woman, let's say, by prolonging it because you don't want him to like discard you after. If he does, it's better to find out sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
He's going to do
exactly.
that even if you make him wait 3 months or five
Yeah,
five
whether you
months.
sleep with him the first date or 5 months in,
If he's gonna treat you that way, he's going to treat you that way. Period.
period. And like, I think it's just,
Period.
again, it has to do with like these societal norms like, don't sleep with a man right away. You're a slut if you do.
Right.
But don't wait too long because if you do, he's going to lose interest in
Right.
you. It's like,
Right.
so
Right.
what's the number? What's the magic number here? There
100%.
is no
Feel it
magic
out.
number, ladies. Follow your intuition.
Follow your intuition.
Spoken by two crazy bitches who have like a really sordid dating history.
Yes, but who have literally the most incredible, supportive men.
We do. We
We
do.
landed it. We landed the
We
plane.
landed the plane and that's what matters.
Yes.
Um and then yeah, so I guess I just am annoyed. I'm getting annoyed with Jesse Solomon. I'm sorry. I don't like he's like a slobbering, horny, humping dog.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't think it's like funny or cute how much he's flirting with Sierra. I think it's annoying. It's like
Yeah.
I know Wes doesn't give a fuck about Sierra, but it's
No.
like okay, that's like your best friend's like ex, not like hook up, like situationship. And I don't think that's nice, even though Wes like truly doesn't care. I just
Yeah.
that's like a red flag to me. I just think that like anyone that your best friend has been with is like it's a end zone. It's like a no go. Even though I think
Totally.
maybe that's why he does it because he knows nothing's going to happen, so he can be flirty with her. Maybe that's
Totally.
the deal. But I just find it really juvenile. I think if I'm Lexi, I'm going to feel really insecure because I'm younger than everyone. I'm not in the friend group. I'm like more of an outsider. I have less of a ground to stand on. I already told you I'm jealous, so you're kind of like goading me into like acting like a
Totally.
crazy jealous girl. And I feel like you have said that he's young. He's not young. He's our age. Like he needs to grow up.
That's totally fair. I don't know why I thought he was like 26. Maybe Lexi's 26?
Lexi's 26, he's 31.
Yeah.
He's a man
I
child. And I get
No,
it. He
you're
had
right.
cancer and he has a new outlook on life and that's wonderful, but it doesn't excuse you from acting like a
A
dick.
100%. Absolutely. I There's something about how fun loving he is and exactly what you said. He's like a slobbering humping. I think that is hysterical and it definitely makes me like look at him a little differently. The way I looked at him was always like he acts like a kid in a candy shop, which I think is like kind of cute. Like in the sense that I feel like he really lives life as if he knows that it could be over at any moment.
Yeah.
So he is sure he's not 25, but he's young. We're young. He's 31. He has no obligations. He was cast on this reality show where he gets a house paid for in the Hamptons every single summer with a guy who's his best friend, like his like wingman West. And like
Mhm.
he's just like the fun exudes off of him. Like he's just
He's
so
taking it all
happy to
in.
yeah, he's so happy to be here and I really do appreciate that about him. I think your take is just as valid, but for some reason, just because he's not a fuckboy in like a traditional sense, he's like a different breed of fuckboy where like he's nice to everyone and everything's fun and he's just like doing his thing and like There's something like very charismatic and charming about it.
But you just described like a fuckboy to a T, I feel like just someone who's like fun loving, like friends with all the girls, gasses his girlfriends up, like funny, like
So
but he's like,
true.
I'm a nice guy, but like, no, you're
So
not.
true.
You're
No,
no, you're not. So this is
no,
like
that's a good
classic when I was
point.
like, Walton is
Yeah.
a good man. He's a
No,
good
you're
man,
like they
Savannah.
have a really healthy, loving relationship. I'm like,
Girl.
that is the most dysfunctional relationship.
I know. It's like sometimes we have our blinders on.
It's true. But I have like kind of a hot take about Lexi. I think it's a mistake that she's so into Jesse and she's not taking the time to build relationships with the women in the house.
I know, but it's hard. I mean, they're such a solid group. They've been going to this house together for 10 years. They're also
Totally.
a good 5 to 10 years older than her. Like, how is she really supposed to infiltrate if they're not like, Lexi, come in? And they are nice to her. Like,
But like,
but it's like they're at an arm's length. Like, even when Amanda was crying in the bathroom and like
yeah,
Lexi
she's like, can
came
I
in,
just
she
talk to
was
the
like,
girls?
she was like, can you go find Kyle? Like, she like sent her away, and Lexi was trying. She was like, are you okay? Like,
Totally.
she's in an impossible situation.
It is weird the producers did that.
Well, she was supposed to be with Bailey, and then Bailey pieced out. She was supposed to have a
Oh,
friend in the house.
forgot.
So there's that. One quick thing I want to talk about is like Imrule.
Why did
Is
Summer
he
House
like renting a house? Is he renting a room in the summer house? Like, and
no,
running a brothel?
literally? I don't understand. You'd think the producers of Summer House would have gotten it right by now. Every single season, there's like a rogue person who just like doesn't fit in with anyone.
Imrule is just like, why are they trying to pretend like Kyle is friends with him? Like, Kyle
Oh my
hasn't even
god.
remotely attempted to bring them together. I think Imrule's best friend in the house is Danielle, and
I'm
Danielle's
not.
not like a main character on the show.
And Danielle's literally just trying to hook up with him.
Right. Okay, that was hysterical when you were like, I don't think that he registered as a person to hook up with. And I was like, she'll hook up with anyone. Remember, she was getting with the balloon guy last
Balloon
summer?
guy. Okay. I'm obsessed with Amanda's journey.
Let's talk about it. What about it is like,
I think she is just on such an unproblematic journey this season. Like every one of her confessionals is like, I'm just so happy. I'm finally on the right mix of medications. Like, I definitely don't want a child because I just figured myself out. And I'm just like, can finally do things that I've always wanted to do because I'm not depressed anymore. Like, I'm just so happy for her.
I'm so happy for her. And I hope that like she stays this way. And I hope that like it's not like her depression is because she's like in an unhappy marriage. Because like that is my concern,
Yeah.
that it's just like she regrets marrying Kyle and like doesn't know what to do about it.
I don't know that she sees that yet.
Yeah, like she can't admit that to herself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy for her that she like last season she really wanted to find something for herself outside of Loverboy, and now she has this collab with South Moon Under, which is really cool. I mean, I think that's a great fit. Like she always looks amazing in a bikini, and she says
Totally.
she has like a passion for bikinis, so it's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool that she's like designing them, and I think it's really smart that she's partnering with like an established brand, so
Yes.
it's not like having to like start from like scratch, start from the ground zero.
Totally.
Like make it easy for yourself and get your name out there and get that dough.
Totally. And I also think it's really cool how happy she is for Paige because I feel like that easily could be a point of tension because her career outside of Summer House is sort of non-existent
Yeah.
and Paige has like completely exploded.
And the added
And
element of Hannah.
right.
I know. It is really interesting, and I wonder if it's like it's going to reach a point where we can't ignore it anymore, or like where Paige can't like manage being neutral and in the middle anymore. Knowing also Hannah just went on what's it, Jay Shetty's podcast. Do you know who Jay Shetty is?
Yes.
And she was talking about like being fired from Summer House and like how it's really hurtful because you're being fired for being yourself, and
Yeah.
like just talking about how like toxic like reality TV is and how it was for her and like how she lost control of the narrative and
Yes, I
like
saw
losing
that
her
clip.
friends. So at a certain point, like I wonder if she is going to have to pick a side. And I have a feeling that Paige would pick, she will pick Hannah because
Of
she's her
course.
business, that's her business partner.
Yeah.
But that makes me sad because I think Paige and Amanda have a really nice friendship.
Or Hannah and Amanda could just like squash whatever is lingering.
I think it's too far gone. I don't think Kyle would ever allow that
Yeah.
because Hannah claimed that he got her fired and you know, he can be very immature. There's just no way. I think that's done, but I hope that whenever Paige gets married that she could have a bachelorette party where Hannah
Yeah.
and Amanda can be there
Amanda.
together. Really worried about that.
Okay, so my brother had a really good take. We love watching reality TV together, and I was asking him why he doesn't watch Summer House, and he literally said he thinks it's a dull version of The Real World. And I thought that was the most iconic take because it is so true. Like, we're so wrapped up in Summer House and these current shows, but if you think back to The Real World and like the OG reality shows from the early 2000s, the 90s and early 2000s on MTV, they were so much more unhinged. The drama was so much better, so much more real. So, Rebecca and I wanted to do a little deep dive into the real world era.
Yeah. So just for context, my bat mitzvah theme was the real world. Like the theme of my bat mitzvah was the real world Rebecca. So
That is
I will post some pics. Um, that's how much I love the real world. I mean, yeah, it was a time when people went on television because it was cool to be like, I'm on TV, but there was no like agenda beyond that. People weren't trying to like make a brand of themselves. I mean, I guess some people were, but the only way to do that was to continue to be on like other reality shows. It wasn't
right
like you could like blow up on
on social.
Instagram, on social media, yeah, and then just like
Right,
be a star overnight. Like how the girls on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, like they go on a season and all of a sudden they have a million followers. It's not really like
right.
that anymore, but you know, back in the heyday, 10 years ago. So, you know, it was just like more pure and people just like not just being more themselves and not really thinking outside of like the moment that they were in. So like there were just really insane things that would happen on the real world. Like I'm pretty sure Real World Las Vegas, Trishelle like had sex in the hot tub on television. Um, the Real World San Diego, Robin punched a Marine outside a club, got arrested, and her mug shot was taken. Um, the Real World Austin, Danny and Melinda. So the Real World Austin, it was like this bad boy, Danny, like kind of, you know, the classic fuck boy, like avoidant attached, and then the really sweet hometown girl, Melinda. And oh my God, they were both gorgeous. And they
Yes.
immediately like attracted to each other and they just had this like this whirlwind romance. And like it was just like the real world like really wanted to paint them as like this fairy tale couple that like got together. And I think it was really sad and dark because I think once the cameras went down and like real life started, they were like just getting to know each other and they were really incompatible. And but they felt this pressure to like stay together because of like everyone shipping them so hard from the show. And it got very toxic.
How do you know?
I read about it. It got like their wedding. They were together like on and off for many years. Their wedding was on MTV. They ended up getting divorced 2 years later, and then they went on the challenge like Battle of the Exes or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like they couldn't even like be on the same team because there was so much like lingering resentment between
Wow.
them. I was curious. I looked up Melinda. Like she hasn't aged a day. She's seriously one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life.
She was gorgeous. I remember her vividly.
Yeah, she was just like a classic, like blonde haired, sweet, like blue eyed, all American girl. And she just like
Yes.
she still got it. She looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh my God, Melinda. It's like I'm seeing you again, like it was yesterday. And then I thought it was shady. So it's funny because West was on that season from
And
you know
I
how we feel about
love
West.
Wes.
And he like recently did a shout out about how he wants to do a reunion, but he purposely left Danny out of it.
Interesting.
So I think that like he really is a piece of shit, Danny, and like no one is friends with him or wants anything to do with him, but I think the rest of the cast is cool. Just like a little trip down memory lane.
I mean, I love it. I don't remember which season, but they've done like reunion like stints where they have like 2 weeks where they all go back to a house.
Yeah, it's like a web show, I think. I made
Oh,
that up.
I
That's
can't
totally
remember.
hearsay.
I can't remember where or when I saw it, but I remember like it was kind of like creepy. Like it's just so crazy how much time has passed.
Right. I know. I mean, it was literally, I'm pretty sure that it was 20 years ago. I think the real world San Diego was 2004 and the real world Austin was 2005. So we're already at like
Wow.
20 years ago when we were like in our peak real world obsession.
It's so crazy.
Drop a comment. Let us know like what your favorite real world season is or your favorite real world moment. I'm so down to talk about it. I
It
just,
makes me want to go back and rewatch with you.
maybe we should do like
A rewatch.
a rewatch and we'll like hopefully we could do like a mini episode every
I
other
would
week about like rewatching.
love that.
We have no time to do that. Like we in a dream world, but I would love for that to happen.
Me too.
Oh, this has been so
Okay.
much fun.
This was an amazing episode. I'm so happy we got to record. Rebecca, I love you so
I love
much.
you so much and we love you so much, audience. Thank you for listening.
Yes.
And you, our dear viewers. Thank you.
Our middle part fan club.
Our Middle Part family. Thank you guys for listening to Middle Part. Please like, review, and subscribe. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We're just like we want to chat and we want to relive what like the Y2K era with you. So like let's
Yes.
reminisce. Let's go down memory lane, guys.
DM us, text us.
Don't text
Thank
us
you.
unless you're like an immediate family member and like close
Yes.
friend. You know who you are. You could text us. All right. Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.